something I pointed out earlier, guys, was about how the Kings were kind of the victim of a few bad officiating years. One of them being 2002 playoffs.
Yeah.
That was kind of a fun topic that we kind of wanted to try to get into, and it's kind of analyzing just a list that Bleacher Report made of the 10 worst officiated games in NBA history, which out of my top two, I already consider that 2002 Western Conference Finals.
That one's the most heartbreaking to me. Just because
Sacramento
of how much
was
it
the
meant.
better team, and
Sacramento was clearly the better team.
Yeah. I mean, what team shoots 40? No, what team shoots 27 free throws in a quarter, like the Lakers did?
Right. And it was the way that it happened, and it was just the story behind it is just so devastating. Everybody, and it just hurts to know that it was our sport.
Yeah.
It was our sport that did this.
And you say this all the time, but it's an era of basketball that is forgotten by a lot, and probably by choice too, to some extent.
I honestly, until we started getting into it and we started dissecting some of the 2000s, that was an era that I didn't want to remember. Until we remembered some of the funny part when we could look back and say, ha, Rasheed Wallace. When we could go back and say, players like that where you could just chuckle about. Like those guys were the ones that we like to remember.
Yeah.
But it's just an era that almost killed the NBA.
They lost
altogether.
A lot. Well, a couple main things happened, if you recall.
Yeah.
They had the change in fan policy after the Malice in the Palace.
Malice in the Palace, man.
They had the there was a lot going on with teams wanting to move out of cities. Look at Charlotte.
Yeah.
Look at Sacramento. They're, I mean, as much as people want to say it,
and you had bad players.
Three-peats are bad for, they're not bad for business, but they're bad for, the fan viewing as a whole.
Yeah.
Another thing to consider. Gosh, where was I going with this? The whole Tim Donaghy reffing scandal.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and then I was gonna make the point of, having players like Gilbert Arenas, who just did stupid stuff. Like he was just crazy. Like he brought a gun into a locker room. And I think it might have been Latrell Sprewell.
Yeah, it's not even the fact that he brought a gun into a locker room. It's
He's
the
gonna
fact
shoot
that
somebody.
It's the fact that he threatened somebody.
His own teammate.
Yeah.
It was his own teammate. I know it was Latrell Sprewell. But still, you can't bring a gun into your own locker room. Like, Like, come on, man. Like, seriously. And did you hear the latest thing that Gilbert Arenas did?
No.
They threw him out of I guess it was like a fair or whatever, like one of those like country fairs or whatever, because he got into a fight with the guy because they told him he couldn't play those basketball games. He wanted to like too many times in a row, and he wanted all the stuffed animals. And they would only give him half of them, and they wouldn't let him play anymore. So he got into a verbal altercation with the guy, and he got thrown out of the fair because of a freaking game, like because of a basketball game at a fair. Like, come on, man, seriously.
I think.
Come on, man.
I think the main thing about that era, though, and a lot a lot of the games on
God.
this list are listed from that 2000s era.
Two of the, I'd say three of the biggest ones that come to my mind are all in the 2000s.
The 06-07 Phoenix versus San Antonio in the semis.
Yeah.
The 2002 Western Conference Finals.
Western Conference Finals. Phoenix Suns not Phoenix Suns, sorry. Sacramento Kings and LA Lakers.
And the 2006 NBA Finals.
Yeah. I'd say 2005, 2006 season. Dallas and Miami were playing.
We all knew that Dallas was the favorites in that.
Oh, yeah. I think they were truly the better team. But
and we can get to the stats that kind of go behind that series.
Yeah.
So, anyway, first on this list, this is labeled as the Charles Smith game, and this was the Game 5 of the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep. New York going, and they would have gone and played the Bulls in Game 7, or not in Game 7, but they would have went on and played the Bulls later, and the Bulls went on and they won a championship, their third in a row, their first three-peat that year. They went and played the Phoenix Suns and they beat them in the first three, just to label it. But I don't remember Charles Smith all that well, because I remember the Knicks, Oakley and Ewing, and you had Derek Harper and John Starks. I don't remember Charles Smith there, I don't recall him playing, but I'm guessing he was probably a guard or something.
Probably a backup player.
Yeah, he was a bench
probably
player.
Significant. I mean,
I'd say he was pretty significant.
Considering, this article is entirely about him.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
I think next on this list, if we're going to be looking at this, is Jordan's last shot of the 1998 finals. What I'm going to guess it's probably referencing to is that push-off that he had. But we all know that a lot of our players, like Reggie Miller, had much worse push-offs.
Yeah, that was funny. You brought that up, and I'm just like, wait a minute now. Reggie Miller had the greatest push-off maybe ever on Scottie Pippen. Like, we were teasing each other about that. But you know what? At the end of the day, it was just the same thing that you see nowadays. It's just creating the advantage.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you know what? You tell me that Michael Jordan wasn't going to hit that shot, whether he had a guy in his face or not. The rim, that net never moves when that shot goes through. So I don't care what you tell me. Michael Jordan will hit that shot if he's got 6 guys in front of him.
Exactly.
That he lines up that shot. It is the most beautiful shot that I have ever seen in my life. So, you know what? I never really bought the whole player pushing, creating an advantage on offense. I never really bought that. But at number 8, what's number 8 then?
Number 8, something that I personally hate watching as a Pacers fan, is the 4-point play that Larry Johnson made in the Eastern Conference Finals in 94? Something like that. It was
young Larry Johnson.
It's a 4-point play. The Knicks were down by 3 with I think it was a little under a couple seconds remaining, and he hits a 4-point play, and there was no foul at all, and it's just another missed call.
Yeah.
But that has to deal with just one missed call.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking here, there's a couple games in here that has to do with an entire series, not just one thing. The 7th one on this list is
the Boston Celtics from 2008, Game 2 of the 2008 NBA Finals. Lakers shot 10 free throws. The Celtics shot 38. Now that's free throw discrepancy. If you're gonna That's free throw discrepancy if you're going to talk about it.
We all know that, and we all knew that Boston went on to win that series.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you look at it, it was almost the most perfect scenario that could have ever played out
it
for
really
Boston.
was.
Not just that series in the matchup, but the entire season.
The entire
itself.
season, yeah.
You go from a team that has the biggest turnaround season ever.
Yeah, really.
Any team.
Well, but I mean, if you look at how they constructed that entire team, though, you wouldn't be surprised.
No.
I mean, they went from one of the worst Celtics starting lineups ever to one of the best ever. In one season. I mean, the turnaround was crazy. But that's because they put an entirely new team on the basketball court. But you know what? I feel like this was a fluky series itself because the Celtics didn't do well after that. No, the Celtics weren't as good after this. So I felt like there was something fluky about it.
And they retained a lot of their
roster. It was the same team. It was the exact same team. Maybe better.
I mean, but you also have to take in consideration, injuries started hitting that team pretty significantly, though, especially with Kevin Garnett.
They got older.
Yeah. But, that happens with any great team, though.
Yeah. Kobe was getting older.
Didn't let him stop him.
No. He won two championships after that. One on the misfortune of the Celtics. On the fortune of the Celtics.
Actually, on the misfortune of Meta World Peace, now known as.
Yeah, right.
Having a clutch game in that Game 7.
God, of course it's Meta World
I'm pretty sure that's another one that's mentioned on
here. Yeah, probably.
Oh, what do you know? Lakers over the Celtics.
The very next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it
is. And this one has a lot to do with Kobe about his Game 7 and how pretty much Meta World Peace picked up his slack. Kobe shot 6 for 24 that series.
Oh, I think that game. Yeah, that's from the one game. 6 for 14 in that game.
He went to the free throw
24,
line.
Sorry.
He went to the free throw line 15 times, and the Celtics only did as a team 17.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. I mean, part of it makes sense though. I mean, he still didn't shoot well. That's why I don't necessarily buy it. It's because you know what? At the end of the day, he still shot 6 for 24. Yeah. He went to the free throw line, but he still shot 6 for 24. So you know what? He was just being aggressive. I think. I mean, I'm not sitting here watching highlights from the game.
I do remember that, and I do remember that game, and he just was not as aggressive like in some of the past games of that series, though.
Yeah.
Look at this next series. This was
throwback.
This was a 1998 finals.
1988. Here we go. Game 6, 1988. Lakers Pistons. The notorious series between the Lakers and the Pistons. New school and old school coming together. Bill Laimbeer and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, if I get this right, Bill Laimbeer is the one that's fouling Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but it's not a foul.
Yeah.
And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goes and wins the game for him. Am I right in assuming?
Perfect way to end his career.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he still played another year after that, I think. But he retired in 89. It might have been 90, honestly.
Yeah.
But.
And on this next one, look, another 2000s one. With all these reffing scandals that happened. This was Game 7 in 2000 Western Conference Finals.
Wasn't this against...
This was against Portland.
Portland, that's right. That's one of the craziest comebacks, man. Craziest comeback.
The free throw advantage for the Lakers was 37-16 in this game.
Of course it was. God.
They were down by how many in that game?
I think it was like it was double digits. It was like 15, 20 points, something like that.
Portland was about to win that series.
Do you imagine Portland and the Pacers going at it? It was Portland in Indiana, wasn't it? Yeah.
It would have been Portland and Indiana.
The crazy part, I bet you Indiana would have won a championship that
Probably.
year. and then they have to go.
It'd be a close series, but I think.
I think it'd be a fun series. It would be one of those series I would go back and watch.
Who you got? You got Scottie Pippen. You have
Yeah.
Rasheed Wallace.
Rashid. And you got Reggie Miller on
Rick
the other
Smits.
end. Yeah, Rick Smith's still there, man.
I'm pretty sure isn't Chris Mullen on that team too?
Yeah, I think so. I think Chris
You got
Mullen's
Larry
still
Bird
playing.
coaching that team.
Yeah. Man,
That's
what could have been?
Gosh,
Really, what could have been?
I still wish.
Was Jalen Rose there?
Yes.
Wow.
That was a real. They were first in that conference.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
They beat the Knicks out.
Just no surprise.
Unbelievable.
Third one on this list was
Flop Fest 2012. That's a way to put it.
It says it's game 1 of the 2002 Knicks and Heat first round series.
Let's be real. It was all season.
It was all season. It was all series.
My favorite one was the Chris Bosh one when he got pushed a little bit and then he went flying 10 feet and the ref saw it and he was just kind of looking at him like, dude, what are you doing? Like that was basically that entire season. It was just that entire Heat team was just controversial with flopping. That's where flopping came from.
Well, not only that, but the way they were put together too.
Well, I mean, we all hated them for that. But then when they actually stepped on the court, we hated them because they were flopping around and just being ridiculous. They weren't playing basketball. They were just clowning around. And we just hated.
That's the first season of their two-peat.
Mhm.
And
they played the Thunder.
If you think about it, throughout the entire playoff series, if you're looking at the finals just alone, the Thunder went up 1-0 on them.
I think so, yeah. And then they won the next 4. Basically swept them.
They swept them, yeah.
That was every single series though for the Heat. They lost every single series. They lost the first game. I think except for the first one, they lost the first game of every single series.
In a lot of
that
these
year.
game 2s that were, for me personally, that I watched a lot of, in that playoff run that they made.
Yeah.
The game 2s were ultimately what changed the entire face of the series.
Yeah.
Whether it was the free throw disparity or some key player on the other team fouling out, it was always something.
Yeah, yeah. And you realize no one on the Heat ever fouled out.
No. I think
that's still like that with Cleveland now.
I actually found out an interesting stat. This is a couple years old, this stat.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna group players in the superstars, you think of 3 all-time greats. You got, just to put them in comparison.
Yeah.
You got Kobe, LeBron, and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I think LeBron in his entire career has fouled out maybe twice, 3 times.
There was about a stretch where about 3 or 4 years he didn't foul out.
You want to know how many fouls he's averaged over his entire career?
2.
Less.
Less than 2 for a forward?
Oh, about 1.8, I'm pretty sure.
For a forward?
I mean, I can look up his stats right now, but
that is ridiculous.
Kobe's averaged like 2.3. Michael Jordan averaged 2.5.
Well, that was in a much more physical game.
Yeah.
But
let me look up.
You've got to be kidding me. For a guy who plays a forward position.
I can look it up right now.
That's no. Here's the thing. I believe you. That's the sad part. I believe you. I just can't believe that I believe you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't believe that I actually that's actually true. That's just sad, man. It's horrible.
Right?
Oh yeah.
1.9 personal fouls per game over his entire career.
You've got to be kidding.
The highest he's ever averaged was his third year at 2.3.
Yeah. What was his second year in Miami?
Second year in Miami?
Yeah. The one that he won the championship, 2012.
It was his second lowest, 1.5.
There you go. Yeah. He definitely fouled as much. 1.5 fouls.
And we watch
per
him
game.
play quite a bit, and there's a lot he gets away with. I will
Oh
say.
God, he gets away with murder. That was one of the worst traveling calls. Like the shuffling feet travel calls. God, he travels every single game like that. They never call it on LeBron. They call it on a lot of different people. They never call it on LeBron, though. God, man.
I'll look up Kobe's just to put it in comparison,
Yeah.
because these are the two players we definitely compare with, like
Well,
of
in
this
this era.
generation of
In this
basketball.
era, yeah.
You'll have your two comparisons of the if I'm looking at
Of every decade, I'd say there are two comparisons, that you could make.
Yep, 2.5 for Kobe.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man.
Let's look at Michael Jordan.
How do you look here? Here's something that I want you to look at.
And here's the thing that beats me.
Yeah.
As good as LeBron James is an individual defender, his defense is pretty lackluster. He's not that great of a defender as a whole.
He's an overrated defender. He's overrated in a lot of stuff that he does. But I'm trying to think. I wanted you to look up another small forward who played at the around the same time, who was also just about as good, who's kind of like LeBron, because that's the player I want you to look
Michael
up.
Jordan 2.6.
Yeah,
at some points he averaged over 3.
Yeah, you know what? Great defenders foul, man. Great defenders foul. Of course, you're gonna get beat.
So we could also make an argument that LeBron is a bad defender, so he just gets beat.
Yeah.
But then again, there's also been a lot of times in which we've seen his games, and he does foul quite a bit.
Yeah, and he gets away with a lot. They give him a lot of rope, and he hangs everybody with it. But it was hard to watch because I'd just be shouting. I'd be shouting at the TV because of how poorly they called the games, and they just let LeBron do whatever he wanted to do. But all right, so we've got to the to from 10 to 3. So now we're at 2. Now let's take a guess, and we want you guys to participate. We want you guys to think about who the second one is. Now we have 2 options that are still left, right?
The 2 options that are still left is Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals versus the Lakers and the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the entire 2006 NBA Finals.
Yeah, it's crazy because to be fair, in the Game 6, it wasn't just that one game though.
We had a little bit of each game.
I'd say it was about 3 or 4 games in there that they.
And a majority of them were the ones that were played on Sacramento's home court.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't know how those dudes actually. They must have needed security to walk those guys off, because there could have been a mob.
You saw how ugly things got between those teams after that too.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Even during a preseason game.
Yeah.
I recall the next year that Shaq and Vlade and Chris Webber got in a fight out in the Messian.
Yeah, I do remember that. Because I think Shaq wasn't suited up for that game. Shaq was in like a suit, and he and Vlade.
It was either Mike Bibby or Doug Christie that punched like Mike Fox.
Yeah, Rick Fox. Rick Fox. Those 2 guys got into it. I love that. And then Vlade Divac and Shaq were laughing about it. They were laughing about it afterwards. But all right, so I think
I personally think,
which one's worse in your opinion? Which one's the 1 and which one's the 2 in your opinion?
See, the thing with me is that between Dallas and Miami,
yeah,
Dallas was still a clear favorite in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I think
But-
Sacramento was the favorite in that series
But if you
too.
think about it, Sacramento wins this series, which they should have won. They should have.
They had won
They
anyway.
should have near swept.
They had it won anyway. I mean
They had it won a couple games ago.
If it's a regular series, the Kings went out.
I still say to this day, because of how bad that Eastern Conference was,
The Nets were a joke.
They were the number one team in that conference. I don't think they were even 20 above 500.
They were a joke that season. Absolute joke.
You know what? I think Sacramento wins that series, which they should.
In 5 or 6.
They easily win the finals.
Yeah. I agree.
And you don't see the team that's missed the playoffs 10 straight years.
Yeah. Oh, could you see a repeat? Think about it. Shaq leaves that year. Think about it, because it took 2004 for Shaq to then
Who else would?
leave.
Who else would have?
Who else was that great in the West?
Sacramento would have won it. Yeah.
Who else was good enough in the West? I think Sacramento honestly could have repeated. They would be playing the Spurs for a championship.
Sacramento pretty much eased their way up until that Lakers series.
Them and the Spurs would have gone at it, and they had a chance.
I think it was LA that went up against the Spurs, and they beat them easily, though.
Yeah, in 03, I think they did.
Yeah, I think, yeah, with that Miami Dallas series, the thing about that's the big controversy that we didn't mention yet, because I'm sure you all know about the Tim Donaghy scandal and about that
his
Game 6.
multiple scandals.
But that the thing that catches a lot of people off guard is the one involving 2006 finals, and that had to deal with Dwayne Wade's performance.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3 through Game 6, he set an NBA Finals record for most free throws taken during the series.
And the Heat needed every single one of them.
And I want to say he averaged about 20 free throws a game.
Dwayne Wade,
after Dallas was up 2 games.
2-0.
Another interesting fact. I forgot the name of the ref. He was one of the refs that was involved in the reffing scandal.
Yeah.
I watched a video recently, and Dallas is 1-15 in games reffed by that ref.
Wow. Gosh.
This was in the mid 2000s, and think about how great those Dallas teams were. In the direct, they were they were competing right there with the Spurs and the Suns.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
They were really great teams.
Yeah.
I think one of them, was the one that lost to Golden State in the first round. I mean, when they were the best.
Wasn't it the 1-8 matchup?
When they were one of the best teams of all time. Yeah. That's not involving that. But
no.
1-15 though.
1-15.
1-15.
That's not coincidence, man. It can't be. You play 500 ball.
This isn't the Sixers we're talking about. We're talking about a team that's a top 3 team in the league.
Yeah. During this time, they always made the playoffs.
Top 3, top 4 in the West.
They were top-notch team in the West.
Top 5 in the league.
And 1-15.
With this certain ref.
Wow, man.
If that doesn't say anything about why we need to sort of leave this mid 2000s era a little bit behind us.
Yeah.
That's
it's just bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was bad for everybody. The only teams that made anything out of it were the Lakers. Lakers ran away like bandits. Stole stuff from everybody, and they got away with it.
5 titles. 10 years.
5 titles in 10 years, man. That still breaks my heart. You know what? The worst part is when somebody like Shaq gets on air and he looks the camera dead in the eye and he says, "I have 4 rings."
It's like you did not get those by yourself, man.
Shaq, you were great. You were. But I have the utmost respect for Shaq. When he has a serious moment, I go, whoa, wait a minute now. This guy's brilliant. I've actually had multiple moments where I've gone, oh my goodness, this guy's brilliant. Like with Barkley, when we watch Barkley, when he says something
He sounds
smart,
like an idiot.
oh God, I'm not convinced he's not. But but you know what? When he says something brilliant, you go, oh my goodness. Not just I wasn't expecting that. It was more like I never thought of it like
How
that.
many times has he made right predictions about some sort of playoff
Yeah.
series, though?
Yeah. And you know what? With all of his faults and with all of everything else wacky that he does, he still has those brilliant moments that make you respect him. And that's the same way with Shaq.
The thing that pissed me off about Shaq is he had enough nerve all those years back when they did an insider take with a bunch of like older players. The thing that really made me upset is he had the nerve to say on that camera with Chris Webber in attendance,
Yeah.
who was on that Sacramento team, if I remember.
He was
the
Sacramento team.
That Sacramento team was absolutely amazing.
He was the heart and the soul of that. Now Stojakovic was great.
That team was Phoenix before the 06-07 Phoenix.
Yeah.
That team was Golden State
Chris
before
Webber
Golden
was
State.
Unbelievable. What was he averaging? 25 a year?
Yeah, he was averaging 25, and I think the second guy behind him was Peja at 22.
Stojakovic was unbelievable.
Doesn't that sound a lot like? Well, yeah, that sounds like Golden State.
Yeah.
The way they ran their stuff.
Yeah, they were just brilliant. They had great players, but Chris Webber was all of it. And there's no player, and they work together.
Who's gotten more? There's no player that's gotten more screwed his entire career. Not only in the NBA, but at Michigan.
He was the most successful Fab Five. Well, he did it to himself. He called a timeout when they didn't have any and got the technical foul.
You know what I'm saying?
On him. Yeah.
He's
got
the saddest.
He's got the worst NBA career. He played for Washington, Golden State, and the Kings in his career. He has had the saddest. Oh, and Philly. Yeah, we forgot about Philly. But he has the saddest line. Golden State was terrible. Washington was terrible. Sacramento was great, but they got it taken away from them. That's still heartbreaking. It breaks my heart to sit there watching him and know that Chris Webber is watching Shaq too. Watching his coworker boast about it.
And not only that, but Shaq isn't he managing Sacramento?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. He owned the Kings as a player, and now he's owning them now.
Makes me have a lot less respect for him.
You know what? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because I feel like he's making his amends in that way. He's helping DeMarcus Cousins.
I guess you could say that.
He's taken DeMarcus Cousins under his wing. But there have been several times, either on open court or just when they're talking, when he says something
backhanded about that series,
or
the Sacramento.
It's not even about the series,
or the Sacramento team,
or not. No, actually, you know what? He has a lot of respect, and he stays away from that. But he says things that he doesn't think that, like when he says he's got like 4 rings, like that's kind of a backhanded thing where somebody watches that and says, oh, well, okay, if somebody like Chris Webber watches that, or Stojakovic watches that, or Vlade Divac watches that and says,
Vlade Divac's the one working with him.
Man.
Vlade's working with him in that office too.
God, could you imagine that? I mean, it takes a lot to stomach up that every single day, man. You guys really have to understand how much this title meant to Sacramento. It would have been their first in 40 years when they were back as the Royals in the ABA,
and they wouldn't be having issues of wanting, possibly relocating like they are now.
Yeah. That's why it's so heartbreaking to think about is what could have been if Sacramento doesn't get taken away and cheated.
There's a cool documentary on YouTube. It's called The Greatest Tragedy in
We
Sports.
were watching that
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
You guys should go check it out. It's an
Yeah,
entire
definitely.
documentary about how Sacramento, since their very existence as a team, has been screwed time and time again.
Yeah.
From David Stern's first draft, and that's another thing that is under a lot of controversy with
David Stern's just full of it.
Him icing the draft so his Knicks could get Patrick Ewing.
Yeah. A lot of good it did them.
Yeah. Because he was a New York native, and
again,
there's an entire video out there that shows the Knicks card with a bent edge in the spin wheel.
That was the biggest one. Was the bent edge? It wasn't the ice one. It was the bent edge.
That's what I meant by him icing the draft.
Yeah. The bent edge was the controversy. It's crazy.
I think to this day, and you know what? There's a lot of times in which I'll go on, I follow the Sacramento Kings on Facebook. There's a lot of times in which every now and then there'll be a mention from quite a few fans about how just their history as a team has been absolutely destroyed by David Stern and company.
David Stern, man. You know what? David Stern is the root of all of this. He's the root of all of this. And I feel
he knew exactly what was going on with the reffing scandal, no matter how much he wants to deny it.
If he wasn't the front man. Are you kidding me? Look, back then, not as much now, because now it's different. With the TV deal, everybody gets paid. Everybody makes the same amount of money now. There's no advantage for being a large market rather than a small market. Actually, funny enough, all the large markets suck, and all the small markets are the ones that are getting good.
Yeah, the large markets are the ones that get the Christmas Day special.
But back then, but they have bad teams. Nobody wants to watch them. They watch them because they're the only game.
Their ratings are still going down.
The ratings aren't that great, and that's why. Because you watch the Lakers, the Flakers, as I like to call them now, the Knicks. Well, I can't even come up with a nickname because the Knicks speak for themselves. But but back then it mattered that it was a large market. TV rights weren't as big. You had to make your money by going and having those huge extra games in LA because of the NBA profit sharing. NBA profit sharing, the collective bargaining agreement was different back then.
And David Stern at multiple points and Donaghy, I remember when he went under trial, said that it was in the NBA's best interest to extend series to 6 or 7 games, mainly because of profit.
Profit, man.
Well, dude, and also, to further the situation, they were involved in outside gambling as well.
Oh yeah, of course.
But
of course.
The combination
they had their own agenda.
The combination of these two things.
Yeah.
Donaghy basically being held at gunpoint with these gangs. There's an entire documentary on how he had to get out of this. Oh, it was a lot
deeper than a couple of guys gambling.
Yeah, no, he was.
The mob was involved.
He was deeply rooted in these gangs. Yeah. These betting gangs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't get the line right, the mob be after him.
Mm-hmm.
It was his life or the game.
Yeah.
Basically.
Really?
And that's where you kind of feel bad for the guy, but then again, this is his profession.
Yeah.
You got hired The
Why'd
NBA
you go there in the first
you
place?
talk you think about it with a lot of refs today in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, every now and then, we'll have a couple questionable games. Like
Questionable calls,
questionable calls. It will
but it's
never
not a series.
it will never amount. Maybe they've gone sneakier about it. I don't know, but it will never amount to the to the obviousness that were these mid 2000s games.
Mm-hmm.
It was
the entire series
above obvious.
The entire series was compromised. Not just one game was compromised. The entire series was compromised.
And the integrity of the league.
The integrity of the game of basketball, at the greatest level of basketball, the greatest officials in the game of basketball, just called out the integrity. What's real? These things almost killed the NBA. David Stern almost destroyed the NBA.
You gotta admit, Silver has done such a great job so far. Though.
I think so, man.
I think you know what? I think he's made the game more international quicker than.
Yeah, and that's funny because that was why David Stern was always there. He was, his big thing was, oh yes, I always like to extend the game internationally. And in a couple years, you know what? The only thing that I worry about Adam Silver is that he's gonna make the game too much about entertainment, and he's gonna take away the game part of it.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I think he'll go too far, like the free throw. He's gonna get rid of that free throw line, but not like the intentional foul, not because it's not part of the game of basketball, but because it's not entertaining. And that's where it's going to cross the line, where it says, wait a minute, now this rule was put in place because somebody did blank, blank, and blank. And I remember the game that it happened. I forget the player, but I remember the game that rule came into play.
I think I'm going to be fair here. Much how in the U.S. government you've got federal rights, state rights. I think this needs to be a team-by-team issue. And I think it needs
What exactly needs to be a team-by-team issue, do you think?
Free throw shooting needs to be incentivized.
It should be.
And it needs to be on a team-by-team basis, and there needs to be a bare minimum
Absolutely.
held by the league.
Absolutely.
You don't hit over the certain mark. You know what?
Or you can't be on the court.
Guys like DeAndre Jordan would be having a 37 free throw game. That's absurd.
Yeah. Honestly, what is so hard about free throws? Why can you guys not get it down? First of all, you guys are getting paid big time.
You should want to improve more.
Not just want to, you should improve more. Think about how many free throws he's taken per season. How has he not gotten any better? I get it. Look, Hassan Whiteside was a bad free throw shooter. He's improved dramatically.
Was he up to 60?
He's up to 60-something. He started the year at about 50. He's up to 60 now. He's gotten better at everything that he's done. He has improved dramatically, and his free throw shooting is the icing on the cake,
one of those things.
Look, guys like Ben Wallace, they were out there with these, with the looming intentional foul. Of course they were. But they were still out there. They weren't intentionally fouled because they shot 50%. You cannot shoot below 50% in this league. That is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I get it. Ben Wallace was about a 50. He's hit and miss.
Drummond's at 39.
30, I think 37.
Where's Jordan at? 45?
Yeah. Something like that. If that. 42 maybe. Wow. How? He's getting paid $20 million. You know what? This entire rule, and I love it because Kobe came out and said, whoa. Because he agreed with me. Kobe came out and said, whoa. We should be teaching kids to shoot free throws. We should be incentivizing these guys to shoot free throws.
Exactly.
Because you should be able to make your free throws. Kobe came out and defended my point. I've had this same point since this controversy has come up. I said, you know what? It is a tactic. If you do not want him to shoot free throws, then you take him off of the floor. I do not care what your argument is. It should be incentivized. If you cannot shoot a certain percentage, you shouldn't be on the court during these times. If you really have a problem with free throws, you must take this guy off the court. If he cannot shoot a baseline number, then you cannot be on the basketball court in the fourth quarter in a close game where somebody would foul you. You cannot be on the court if you cannot hit the baseline. There are only a handful of players that this is applicable to. There are a handful of guys. They're going to change the entire rule for the entire NBA for guys like, and I remember because I was going through this stat with you, and I was just naming off players: Horford, Millsap, Valanciunas, Pau Gasol, Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, Nikola Vucevic, Cody Zeller, Al Jefferson, Hibbert. Keep going.
They're all big men that hit over 70%.
Yeah. Or at least 60. Whiteside. He's not bad. He's good enough to be on the floor. I'll list off the guys who shouldn't be. Dwight Howard. DeAndre Jordan.
Andre Drummond. Josh Smith. Clint Capella.
Oh God, he's the worst in the NBA right now. Clint Capella, by percentage, not by actual takes, but by percentage, he's the worst. At 37, I think Drummond is 39, but Capella's 37. Those are the only guys that it applies to. All the other bigs in the league can hit free throws. Even Bogut isn't useless.
Yeah.
Iguodala made 2 free throws when it mattered. When a game was on the line, if he misses those free throws, the game is over. And I remember it was the Oklahoma City game that we were watching. They came back, hit 2 free throws. That was the game that Curry hit that crazy shot to win in overtime.
Yeah.
That was all set up because Iguodala hit a 50% free throw shooter, hit the 2 free throws when it mattered, and won him the game. And tied the game, sent it into overtime. Curry went and hit the shot 5 minutes later. Game's over. Golden State wins. So even if you do shoot 50%, you have to hit the free throws that matter.
Do you think there has to be a pay incentive even with it?
Oh, I mean, you have to incentivize it in a lot of different ways. Teams should self-incentivize it, because if you're gonna miss time on the court, if there is certain like it's a counter incentive to an incentive.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like you're getting docked in pay for the amount of time that the NBA says you can't be on the basketball court. It's like a game in-game suspension for guys who can't shoot a certain percentage. So until that 2-minute mark, so I'd say about 3 or 4 minutes, which was what they'd said anyway. You can't be on the court. I know. You can't be on the court until until 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter, and that would be when you would be able to go back in again. But teams would be able to, self-inflict those kinds of penalties if it became a regular thing, if it became something that wasn't improving on at any point. Teams would have the ability to self-incentivize free throw shooting. It's ridiculous. Why are we even having this discussion? It is so blatantly ridiculous.
It's a simple fix, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very simple. It's very simple. Honestly, you need to sit down one summer, like Curry did, and you need to just work every single day. That was the secret to Steph Curry. Why do you think he shoots now like he does? He sat down one summer, and he said he actually cried during it. During an interview, he said he actually cried because it was so rigorous, and it was something that made him it was so unpleasant for him that he actually had to go and do this. But he sat in the gym every single day and shot shots. Him and his dad went and they just fixed his form to what it is now. Changed his entire shooting form. And if that is what you have to do, you have 3 of the best free throw shooters in the game on your team. You seriously can't put up a committee together one summer from Reddick? Reddick has already come out and given him pointers and said, maybe you should try with your right hand instead. And he still shoots it with his left hand.
Heck.
Chris Paul and Jamal Crawford. 3 guys at the top of, they're all 3 of them in the top 10 in free throw shooting.
Heck, even
perennially.
A guy like Jan Mahinmi, I think he started off the season shooting 8 for 27.
Yeah.
And now he's up to like over 55% on the year.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think at least.
And they don't intentionally foul him anymore.
No.
So do you see how such a marginal improvement, changes everything? Marginal improvement changes everything.
Yeah.
Really, it does. Oh, and by the way, we need to actually get back to that, the top 2, because we didn't get to that.
Yeah, of course.
Because we never actually said who is 1 and 2.
Yeah.
All right. So what is Jan Mahinmi shooting again exactly?
This year he is shooting.
Drum roll.
Wow, he's putting up career numbers this year. He's doing really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, he is putting up career numbers. He's shooting 57%.
There you go. That's not bad.
That's a little less than his career, but you know what? That's a lot better.
He's taken a lot more.
Ever since he came to Indiana, he's not been the same.
No.
With his free throw shooting, that's the best he's had in Indiana.
Yeah. And he's playing a lot more minutes, and he sat down and he worked on it.
Yeah.
Free throw is one of those things that you can never leave it alone. You always have to shoot. You have to go in and you have to shoot 100 free throws a day. That was Michael Jordan's thing. That's how he was not a good free throw shooter when he came into the league. And he was not a great career free throw shooter. But he became an 80% free throw shooter by the end of his career. Because he sat and he worked and he shot and he shot and he shot and he shot and he shot. Yeah. Every single day. Him and Scottie Pippen would always have shooting contests at the end of practice. They would invite their teammates if they wanted to join in. They would go and him and Scottie would just have shootouts all the time. That's how they got better. They're gym rats. You have to get in the gym and you have to fix whatever it is that you're doing wrong. And you have to do it now, man. Or else there should be
because once you develop those bad habits, they don't go away.
No.
They go away. They don't go away a lot easier once you develop.
No. They stick around for a very, very long time. If you don't fix it early, and if you don't fix it often, you're gonna have problems. And that's kind of what happened. All right, so we've left it for long enough now. We've let our listeners stew a little bit here, because we really wanted to get people thinking about which one is truly number 1. Which one is really the worst one, and we wanted to get people thinking and get other people's opinions started going on. It's like our low-key poll question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our low-key poll question here. But all right.
I'm gonna think otherwise, but it turns out that the Game 6 2002 finals is the second worst, and then the 2006 NBA finals is the worst.
I really can't believe that, honestly. If
you think about it,
now here's
Sacramento.
Here's the only...
Dallas's fortunes never changed after that.
No, of course not.
Sacramento's did.
But here's my only thing is that I'll give it to him in this one because it's one game versus an entire series. But to be fair, that 2002 Western Conference Finals was an entire series of that. So it wasn't
Game 6 is the most notorious one.
Oh, Game 6 is the worst.
But there were other games in that series that were close to
Game 5, Game 4,
Game 7,
Game 3, Game 7. They were all just as bad. But the biggest one was Game 6. So if it's one game in the Western Conference Finals, then okay, it's number 2 because it's an entire series in the finals. But I don't agree with this because if it's the entire series, the Sacramento one reigns true to me. That's the biggest one that everybody remembers.
That's the one that ultimately destroyed that team for good. Because you remember the next year, they had the same team. They just did not look the same. Nope. They looked depleted after that.
Yeah, they looked beaten.
And then they went through the whole Brad Miller era.
Oh, God.
Him being an all-star. He was an all-star with Indiana, I'm pretty sure. He was putting up like 18 and 10 or something. Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, jeez. All right. So the number 1 was officially the 2006 Dallas Mavericks and Miami Heat NBA Finals series in 2006.
And you know what? To be fair, for this one, it's not so. It's the individual stats. It's Dwayne Wade's individual stats that really.
That's the biggest.
It's not even the for the
23 throws a game.
For the Lakers, it was as a whole as a team.
Yeah.
This was one person.
Yeah.
Averaging 20 free throws a game.
Yeah.
That's like
through the entire series.
Yeah. That's just unheard of.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And this was before Dwayne Wade was superstar.
This is like...
This is 20-something-year-old Dwayne Wade.
This is his third year.
This is what, 25-year-old Dwayne Wade?
Yeah, because this is 2006. He was drafted in 2003. So
he's about as old as Kevin Durant is right now. Having a breakout season, It's just crazy.
Crazy thing.
It's one of those, and if you think about it, Miami shouldn't have been there in the first place. They had a horrible season that year. To make the finals, they had a terrible season.
You know what? They had to push through a hard Detroit team too,
which was going for a repeat, or not a repeat. That was the year after that, yeah. But they were going for 2 out of 3.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about the.
Actually, no, they were going for 3 in a row. No, they were going for 3 straight finals in a row.
Well, yeah,
because the year before,
they won versus the Spurs.
Spurs, yeah. They went back to back.
Ranked as one of the worst rated finals ever.
Which is funny because it's one of the closest. It went to 7.
It's because of the matchups.
Oh God, no one wanted to watch Detroit and San Antonio. But
that's as boring as it gets.
Yeah.
Oh
God, defense. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Duncan doesn't have too many fond memories of that series. But you know what? That was the one time that I don't really mind Detroit. And I hate Detroit because I'm a Bulls fan. We both hate Detroit because we're Central fans. But, that's the one time I really don't mind Detroit. And Detroit lost in a brutal series. But that was one of the closest series that we've ever watched.
Yeah. Kind of close things up for tonight. We're going to try to... get a feel on who's fighting for these final playoff spots.
Yeah, we can do East and West too.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the East, I'm looking at it right now, and I think the first 6 stay in the first 6.
Yeah,
I don't see Indiana or Detroit catching up to Charlotte or Miami.
No, but I don't either.
And to be fair, as a Pacers fan, I would much rather have Indiana stay where they're at because I think they have a much more favorable matchup with Toronto in the first round than they would with Atlanta or Boston.
Yeah, I worry about the Pacers having to go on that side, though. That's a tough side. And Toronto's no slouch.
Toronto's no slouch, but Indiana has played them really close and actually beat them pretty bad earlier this season.
Yeah, that is true.
The one thing I do worry about is this has been an absolute disappointment of a season for both Washington and Chicago, though.
Oh, God.
More so Chicago.
Yeah.
But
well, actually, quite a few of these teams on this list. I'd say Milwaukee is another one that's been quite disappointing. But none more than Washington and Chicago. Those two teams have been very disappointing in my personal opinion, and many others too. A lot of people agree.
I mean, now Chicago is 2.5 games out of the playoff picture right now.
Yeah.
With about how many games do they have left? They have
probably 8, 9.
Yeah, they have 9 games left.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. Let's be honest. There's plenty of time. There's a couple weeks left of the season, but they're running out of time, and they're running out of. They have a fully healthy team now. They have no more excuses that they don't make the playoffs.
Exactly.
At this point, unfortunately, I don't really want them to make the playoffs because I want them to shoot for a draft pick. I'd rather see them try to get up a little bit and try to maybe get a lottery pick at one point, But yeah. All right, so the bottom three, there are 3 teams that are competing for that 8th spot. I'd say Detroit, Washington, and Chicago are the teams right now. And Detroit's the team in the 8th seed right now. And then the Pacers are just a tiny little bit above.
I still think that stays the same, mainly because Pacers' schedule is a lot favorable for the rest of the year.
Well, I bet you if Charlotte does have some trouble, you guys could overtake Charlotte. And if you end up playing Atlanta,
that's a tough first round matchup for them, though.
But I'd take that over Toronto.
Really?
Who's gonna guard DeMar DeRozan?
That's true.
That's the one thing. You don't have a matchup for DeMar DeRozan.
They could put Paul on there.
I don't know, man. Paul George. I don't know how well Paul George matches up with DeRozan, though. And do you really want to expend all of Paul George's energy when he's going to have to come down and score a lot of the important buckets?
Yeah.
Do you really want him matched up with DeMar DeRozan every single play? Because DeMar DeRozan loves to go into the post. He loves to get inside, and he loves to shoot free throws. That's a lot of stress to put on Paul George.
That's true.
To have to carry both sides of the floor, And then who else is going to guard him? Monte Ellis is too small. He can't guard in the post. DeMar DeRozan will just shoot over him. And then you have Kyle Lowry. And if DeMarre Carroll comes back, now you've got DeMarre Carroll guarding Paul George. So now DeMar DeRozan gets a break on defense. So you really have to mull your options and say, all right, if we're Indiana, we don't want to have to play them. We'd much rather play Atlanta, and I would much rather play Atlanta. Oh, I'd love to play Atlanta as a 6. That's heaven because I don't think Atlanta's that good.
Well, I don't either, but they've got our number. They do have our number.
Yeah. For 3 years. They've had your number.
Even this year.
All right. So that's the race out east. Now let's move on to the race in the west here.
This is a lot closer.
Really? Because I can't believe that.
Because you actually do have a team that is tied for
Houston
8th spot.
Houston has the tiebreaker.
Dallas.
Houston has the tiebreaker here.
That's an interesting scenario there.
It is.
I don't see the 1 through the 5 changing at all.
No.
I see Portland staying where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah, Portland and Utah are still jockeying for position.
Neither Houston or Dallas have been really good of late.
Well, and I think the point is kind of moot anyway because in the first round, if you have to play Golden State, you're probably going to get beat. I mean, Houston gets owned by Golden State and has been this season. They were owned last year. They just Golden State just kills Houston. And you know what? James Harden, unfortunately, will have a great series, and he might get swept.
He'll get no help?
No, absolutely none. But you know what, man? I love Utah. They've been fun to watch. You know, they're not fun to watch, but they get the job done. They get the job done, and that's what's so impressive is how well and at how high of a level that they have been playing at. And Portland, honestly, most genuine surprise. These three, the 6, 7, and the 8 are still going to be decided at the very last week of the season. You know, so these are gonna change, I bet. And you know what? Whether or not Dallas or Houston make it, I think that either team is gonna get beat by Golden State. I'd love to see Dallas because I'd love to see Dirk Nowitzki make another playoff appearance.
Yeah.
And score again. Maybe this might be his last hurrah here. So I'd love to see. I bet he goes a couple more seasons here.
I think so too.
I bet you he goes a couple more because I don't want to see him retire. Not in Kobe's shadow, at least. I don't want to see him retire in Kobe's shadow. But no. So we've still got plenty of time left in the season, and there's still plenty of moving and shaking here in the last couple weeks of this season. So I think this will be kind of an entertaining finish and conclusion to the season, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely do. Especially with Indiana, especially with Indiana, considering a majority of their games they played this past year are versus teams of 500 or better.
Yeah.
They definitely do have a more favorable schedule the rest of the way.
Yeah, definitely.
With Utah and Houston, though, like you said, I think it's come down to the last week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I personally do want Dallas over Houston mainly because I think they can give Golden State a little bit better run for their money.
It's a little bit more unpredictable if Dallas makes it.
I mean, they'll still lose to Golden State.
Well, but we know exactly the series that's going to happen if it's Houston and Golden State. We know exactly how that's going to pan out. Dwight Howard's going to be invisible. James Harden's going to come out and score 35 and get praised. And their team's going to get beat by 20 every single game. So we know how this series is going to end. Now how it ends up with Dallas, where does Darren Williams fit in? Does Dirk Nowitzki go off? There are just more questions in the air. And that's why I'm more excited to see, a team like Dallas make it.
There's just more variables coming in.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm
going to go ahead and predict. I think, I hate to say it for the Bulls, but I think their playoff hopes are done for the season.
I think so. When they lost the game tonight,
that was a killer.
That was it. I said it to you. I said it to you. I remember saying it to you. I was like, yeah, that was the season. Because if you can't win that game, the game that you should have won in the season to give yourself a chance at the very end, that was the game to do it, and they lost that game.
Well, they do have an opportunity to go play the Pacers tomorrow night, actually, on Tuesday. But, I think Indiana, if I recall, is 3 games up on them.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still plenty of chances, but you know what? The window is closing in, and they're about 6 games away from being eliminated from the playoffs. So man, they need to really win out here if they're gonna have a chance to make the playoffs. Both them and Washington need to win out practically. So I mean, it'll be a fun last week of the season, and we'll see if the Bulls can respond and make a push here, and if not, you know, it's just gonna be more disappointment, I guess.
Yeah.
More disappointment in my life as it usually turns out.
Yeah. I think out west, 1 through 5 stays the same. 6 stays the same. I think 7 stays the same, considering how hot Utah is. But I think Dallas takes over that final spot, though.
Yeah.
And that's just mainly because I tend to favor better defensive teams, even though neither are really that great. I still want to
Yeah.
switch
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. Of course.
So,
Of course.
but yeah, I think those are good predictions.
Yeah. I'd agree. Those are great predictions. And we definitely we'll just have to see how the matchups play out, and
Definitely,
it's the fun part of the season, right? It's
definitely.
getting into the playoffs. Well, all right. I think that's a pretty good stopping point here. So yeah, we definitely had a lot of fun going through this stuff, and the topics were a lot of fun. I think this time they were definitely a lot more fun to some of these stuff. So
Yeah, and if you guys want to give any feedback, we thank you for listening again.
yeah,
And if you guys want to give any feedback, just go ahead, comment on this page on SoundCloud, and keep on listening, and we'll be back with more.
yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yep, have a good one.
Good night.